Well, hello there, and welcome back to my kitchen table, a place in most homes where we can sit with family and friends and just talk for hours. Let's see where we're off to today. We're off to, New Jersey. We've been there before, and we're going back again. And like I said before, it is one of the wealthiest states in the US, consistently ranking as one of the top three by average household incomes. What I would also like to say is that New Jersey's public school system consistently ranks at or among the top three of all US states with regards to academic achievement. So, if you're ready, take a seat whilst I tell you a story. Charles Cullen was born February 22nd, 1960, in West Orange, New Jersey. He was raised in a working class Catholic family, the youngest of 8 children. His father, Edmund, a bus driver, sadly died on the 17th of September 1960 when Charles was only 7 months old. Cullen later described his childhood as miserable and claimed to have been constantly bullied by his schoolmates and his sister's boyfriends. When he was aged 9, he made the first of many suicide attempts by drinking chemicals from a chemistry set. Cullen's mother, Florence, was actually born in England and emigrated to the US after World War II as a war bride. She was sadly killed in a car accident on December the 6th, 1977, when she was 55 years old. And Cullen was in his senior year at high school. Cullen recalled his mother's death as being devastating and described being upset as the hospital did not immediately inform him of her death and cremated her body instead of retaining it. The following year, Cullen graduated from West Orange High School and enlisted in the United States Navy. He served aboard the submarine USS Woodrow Wilson. He successfully passed basic training and the psychological examinations required for submarine crews. Now, psychological examinations are required the world over, um, because the crews of submarines obviously are expected to spend as long as 2 months at a time being submerged in a cramped vessel. Although why they don't just make them bigger, I don't know. Cullen rose to the rank of Petty Officer Second Class as part of the team that operated the vessel's Poseidon missiles. A year into his service, Cullen's leading petty officer aboard Woodrow Wilson discovered him seated at the missile controls, wearing a surgical mask, gloves, and scrubs. Cullen was disciplined for that action, but never explained why he had dressed that way. The Navy reassigned Cullen to a lower pressure job on the supply ship USS Canopus. He attempted suicide and was committed to the Navy psychiatric ward several times over the subsequent few years. He received a medical discharge from the Navy in 1984 for undisclosed reasons. Think about that. Undisclosed reasons. Like we don't know why. Shortly after his discharge, Cullen enrolled at Mountainside Hospital's nursing school in Montclair, New Jersey. He was elected president of his nursing class, and he graduated in 1986 and started work at the burn unit in St. Barnabas Medical Center in Livingston, New Jersey. Meanwhile, Cullen met and married Adrienne Baum in 1987. Their daughter, the first of two girls, was born later that year. However, Cullen's wife became increasingly disturbed at his unusual behaviour and his abuse towards the family dogs. In 1993, she filed a restraining order against him based on her fear that he might endanger her or their 2 children. She claimed that Cullen had spiked people's drinks with lighter fluid burned his daughter's books, and left his daughters with a babysitter for a week. I just feel I have to say, if he left the daughters with a babysitter for a week, where was she for a week? Cullen denied these claims, saying that his wife was exaggerating. Nevertheless, she continued to insist that Cullen was mentally ill. Charles Cullen is, in fact, an American serial killer. He's a nurse. He's murdered dozens, possibly hundreds, of patients during a 16-year career, spanning several New Jersey medical centres, until being arrested in 2003. He confessed to committing as many as 40 murders. At least 29 of these have been proved and confirmed, though interviews with police, psychiatrists, and journalists suggest he committed many more. The first murder, to which Cullen later confessed, occurred at St Barnabas. On June 11th, 1988, he administered a lethal overdose of intravenous medication to a patient. Cullen eventually admitted to killing several other patients at St Barnabas, including an AIDS patient who died after he'd been given an overdose of insulin. Cullen left St Barnabas in January 1992. This is when the hospital authorities began investigating the contaminated IV bags. The investigation later determined that Cullen had most likely been responsible, resulting in dozens of patients' deaths in the hospital. A month after leaving St Barnabas, Cullen took a job at Warren Hospital in Phillipsburg, New Jersey, where he murdered 3 elderly women with overdoses of the heart medication digoxin. His final victim said that a sneaky male nurse had injected her as she slept. However, family members and healthcare providers at the hospital dismissed their comments as unfounded. Why did they do that? They still do it. Look at Lucy Letby. Oh no, it can't be her. The following year, Cullen moved into a basement apartment in Phillipsburg after a contentious divorce from his wife. Cullen later claimed that he had wanted to quit nursing in 1993, but the court-ordered child support payments forced him to continue working. In March 1993, Cullen broke into a co-worker's home while she and her young son slept, but he left without waking them. He then began stalking the woman, who filed a police report against him. Cullen subsequently pleaded guilty to trespassing and received 1 year of probation. The day after his arrest, he made another suicide attempt. Cullen took 2 months off work and was treated for depression in 2 psychiatric facilities. However, he attempted suicide twice more by the end of the year. That September, a 91-year-old cancer patient at Warren Hospital reported that Cullen, who was not her assigned nurse, had come into her room and injected her with a needle. She died the next day. Her son protested that her death was not natural, and the hospital administered a lie detector test to Cullen and several other nurses, which he passed. Cullen continued to work at Warren until the following spring. Then he began a 3-year stint in the intensive care unit at Hunterdon Medical Center in Flemington, New Jersey. He claimed that he did not harm anyone during the first 2 years at Hunterdon. However, hospital records for that period had been destroyed at the time of his arrest in 2003. Cullen admitted to murdering 5 patients between January and September 1996, again with overdoses of digoxin. He then found work at Morristown Memorial Hospital, but was soon fired for poor performance. Cullen remained unemployed for 6 months and stopped making child support payments. After seeking treatment for depression in the Warren Hospital emergency room, he was briefly admitted to a psychiatric facility. February 1998, Cullen was fired by the Liberty Nursing and Rehabilitation Center in Allentown, Pennsylvania, where he staffed a ward of respirator-dependent patients. There, he was accused of giving patients drugs at unscheduled times. He was fired after being seen entering a patient's room with syringes in his hand, an encounter that left the patient with a broken arm. Cullen caused a patient's death at Liberty Hospital, which was blamed on another nurse. After leaving Liberty, Cullen was employed at Eastern Hospital from November 1988 to March 1999. On December the 30th, 1988, he murdered yet another patient. A coroner's blood test showed lethal amounts of digoxin in the patient's blood, but an internal investigation within Eastern Hospital was inconclusive. Evidence did not definitively point to Cullen as the murderer. Even with his history of mental instability and the number of deaths during his employment at various hospitals, Cullen continued to find work. This was because of a national shortage of nurses, and we know how that feels. Additionally, no reporting mechanism yet existed to identify nurses with mental health or employment problems. Liability concerns made hospitals unwilling to take significant action against Cullen. In March 1999, Cullen took a job at the burn unit of Allentown Lehigh Valley Hospital, Cedar Crest, where he murdered one patient and attempted to murder another. A month later, he voluntarily resigned from Lehigh Valley Hospital and took a job working in the cardiac unit of St. Luke's Hospital in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. During the subsequent 3 years, Cullen murdered at least 5 patients and is known to have attempted to kill at least 2 more. January the 11th, 2000, he once again attempted suicide by lighting a charcoal grill in his bathroom, thinking that he would suffocate on carbon monoxide poisoning. His neighbours smelled the smoke and called the fire department and police. Cullen was taken to hospital and a psychiatric facility, but returned home the following day. No one suspected Cullen with murdering patients at St. Luke's until a co-worker found medication vials in a disposal bin. The drugs were not valuable outside the hospital, and since they were not used in recreational drugs, the theft was highly unusual. An investigation showed that Cullen had taken the medication. He was offered a deal by St. Luke's to resign and be given a neutral recommendation or to be fired. He resigned and was escorted from the building in June 2002. 7 of his co-workers at St. Luke's later alerted the Lehigh County District Attorney of their suspicions that he had used drugs to kill patients. Investigators never looked into Cullen's past, and the case was dropped 9 months later for lack of evidence. In September 2002, Cullen began working in the critical care unit at the Somerset Medical Center in Somerville, New Jersey. He began dating a local woman around then, but his depression worsened. Cullen had killed at least 13 patients and attempted to kill at least one more by mid-2003, using digoxin, insulin, and epinephrine. On June 18, 2003, he unsuccessfully attempted to murder Somerset patient Philip Greger, who was later discharged but died 6 months later from natural causes. Somerset began to notice Cullen's wrongdoings when he accessed the rooms and computerised records of patients to whom he wasn't assigned. The hospital computerised drug dispensing cabinet showed that he was requesting medication for his patients that hadn't been prescribed. His drug requests included many others that were immediately cancelled within seconds of each other. July 2003, the executive director at New Jersey Poison Information and Education System warned Somerset officials that at least 4 suspicious overdoses indicated the possibility that an employee was killing patients. By October, Cullen had killed at least 5 more patients and attempted to kill another. When patients in Somerset died of low blood sugar in October 2003, the hospital alerted the New Jersey State Police. That patient was Cullen's final victim. State officials warned the hospital for failing to report a non-fatal insulin overdose administered by Cullen in August. An investigation into his employment history revealed past suspicions about his involvement in patient deaths. Somerset fired Cullen. On October 31st, 2003, ostensibly for lying on his job application. The nurse, Amy Lochran, alerted the police after she had become alarmed about Cullen's records of accessing drugs and his links to patient deaths. Police kept him under surveillance for several weeks until they had finished their investigations. Investigators assigned Lochran to visit Cullen after work hours and talk to him while she was wearing a microphone. With that evidence, police had produced enough probable cause for arrest. Cullen was arrested at a restaurant on December 12, 2003, and charged with 1 count of murder and 1 count of attempted murder. 1. On December 14th, he admitted to the homicide detectives, Dan Baldwin and Tim Braun, that he had murdered Father Florian Gale and had also attempted to murder Jin Kyung Han, both of whom were patients at Somerset. In addition, Cullen told the detectives that he had murdered as many as 40 patients over his 16-year career. In April 2004, Cullen pleaded guilty before Judge Paul W. Armstrong in a New Jersey court to killing 13 patients and attempting to kill 2 others by lethal injection while he was employed at Somerset. See, that's just one hospital. As part of the plea agreement, Cullen promised to cooperate with authorities if they did not seek the death penalty for his crimes. A month later, he pleaded guilty to the murder of 3 more patients in New Jersey. In November 2004, he pleaded guilty to an Allentown court to killing 6 patients and trying to kill 3 others. He repeatedly interrupted the proceedings by taunting the judge with the chant, "Your Honour, you need to step down." Cullen was ordered to be restrained and gagged. Imagine doing that now. This was only in 2004. In March 2006, Cullen was sentenced to 11 consecutive life sentences. 11 consecutive life sentences by Judge Armstrong in New Jersey, and he is not eligible for parole until June 10th, 2403. Currently, he's held at New Jersey State Prison in Trenton. New Jersey, Lehigh County, Pennsylvania presiding Judge William H. Platt, for a sentencing hearing. Cullen upset the judge by repeating, "Your Honour, you need to step down," for 30 minutes, while Platt had Cullen gagged with a cloth and duct tape. Even after being gagged, Cullen continued to try to repeat the phrase. In that hearing, Platt gave him an additional 6 life sentences. 6 life sentences. So that's 17 life sentences. You can only live one life as part of his plea agreement. Cullen has been working with law enforcement officials to identify additional victims. Cullen has stated that he had overdosed patients to spare them from being seen going into cardiac or respiratory arrest and being listed as a code blue emergency. He told detectives that he could not bear to witness or hear about attempts at saving a victim. He also stated that he gave patients overdoses so that he could end their suffering and prevent hospital personnel from dehumanizing them. Because he didn't do that, did he? However, not all of his victims were terminal patients. Some, like Gall, had been expected to recover before Cullen killed him. The nurse Lynn Tester described many of the victims as people on the mend in a police interview. Instead of using common painkillers and stimulants, access to which had was strictly regulated, breaking these teeth in for the dog, by hospitals because of their value as street drugs. Cullen chose drugs such as digoxin and insulin, which had little use outside of a hospital setting and were less likely to attract attention. Investigators stated that Cullen may have caused patients to suffer but did not realise it, which contradicted his claims that he wanted to save patients. Similarly, Cullen told investigators that although he often observed patients suffering for several days, the decision to commit each murder was performed on impulse. He told detectives in December 2003 that he lived most of his life in a fog and that he had blacked out memories of murdering most of his victims. He said that he could not recall how many he killed or why he'd chosen them. In some cases, Cullen adamantly denied committing any murders at a given facility. However, after reviewing medical records, he admitted that he was involved in patient deaths. Cullen moved from facility to facility, undetected, mainly because of the lack of requirements to report suspicious behaviour by medical workers and inadequate legal obligations on employers. Also, many states did not give investigators the legal authority to discover workers' previous employers. Employers feared investigating incidents or giving a bad employment reference for fear of such actions triggering lawsuits. According to detectives and Cullen himself, several hospitals suspected him of harming or killing patients, but failed to take appropriate legal actions. After Cullen's criminal conviction, many of the hospitals at which he had worked were sued by the families of his victims. The files and settlements against New Jersey hospitals, all of which were settled out of court, are sealed. Prompted by the Cullen case, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and 35 other states adopted new laws which encouraged employers to give honest appraisals of workers' job performance and provide legal protection for reporting medical errors. The New Jersey laws, in particular, formed the model of other states that would follow. Firstly, the 2004 Patient Safety Act increased hospitals' responsibility for reporting serious preventable adverse events. The 2005 Enhancement Act, a supplement to the Patient Safety Act, required hospitals to report certain details of their employees to the New Jersey Division of Consumer Affairs and mandated that complaints and disciplinary records relating to patient care be kept for sorry, total blank, be kept for at least 7 years. The film or movie The Good Nurse, adapted from Charles Graeber's excellent non-fiction book The Good Nurse, a true story of medicine, madness, and murder, was released on Netflix on October 26th, 2022. Eddie Redmayne, Swoon, portrays Cullen, and Jessica Chastain portrays co-worker Amy Lochran, the nurse who actually helped implicate Cullen and assisted detectives by talking to Cullen outside working hours, wearing a wire. It is a great film to watch. There's no gory bits, just a very intense storyline, as you can probably imagine, with a very talented cast. Although I am biased because I am a huge, huge Eddie Redmayne fan. And that's me done. Thank you very much for allowing me to tell you this story. And thank you very much for listening. If you found it interesting, please hit the like button and subscribe. Like I always say, it's free to do, so don't hold back. And remember this: a smile is happiness right under your nose. I've been Sue, TTFN.